Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for over 400 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Josh. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
We have weird times because the Summer Games Fest is Friday and Xbox Games Showcase is Sunday as of this recording.
There is a million billion, other little smaller like indie directs and
Tons
PC
of
game
speculation.
shows and what have you. There's a lot of stuff going on after this podcast goes live. So this is truly the sort of calm before the storm. But I think we have to talk about the fact that on Sunday, Keeley did a Q&A, and he's tried to basically set people's expectations like this ain't going to be the big year for gaming. I mean, he said like, he's like, I rate this show an 8 out of 10, but he says like, and then he's like, I always rate my shows an 8 out of 10. I'm like, okay. He's like, he immediately tries to like cover and backpedal or whatever, but and it's probably not going to be 8 out of 10. It's probably I mean, hey, there's going to be something there for someone. Someone's going to love it, whatever, right? Like, say you're really looking forward to Slitterhead, I think it was some ex Silent Hill devs doing the Kowloon horror game.
Right. Yeah.
That actually got renounced like today that it's going to be at the show. Like they're going to have an update on it.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see a lot of confirmation. I have some speculations.
There was a lot of Xbox. Well, there was a lot of deconfirmation that Jeff did on Sunday, where he's like you're not seeing Kingdom Hearts 4. Obviously, you're not seeing Grand Theft Auto. You're not. There was some other stuff that he was just flat out just said it's not going to be there. He said he said Metal Gear Solid won't be at his show. I'm like, no, duh.
There's things that like one, I don't understand how you're not going to have any Metal Gear Solid stuff at his show, but I guess.
Oh, do you know? Did you forget he publicly denounced the company at the Game Awards?
Oh, did he really? Did he?
Oh, you don't remember this? Okay, so
well, I remember his sort of half-hearted. Yeah, I remember his half-hearted.
2015, Metal Gear Solid 5 won an award, and then he said that he straight up said like, unfortunately Kojima could not be here because his company forbade him, which I find that like absolutely, like he just blasted the fucking company. I mean, on stage publicly.
Like, I remember this as being a lot more mild than people are saying.
Oh no, this isn't mild. You might as well have like lobbed a grenade into Konami's offices. Like this was the end. This was the end of Konami ever working with this man in any capacity whatsoever. That was a statement that never gets made, let alone publicly, let alone live, like on air. Like this was the end. Like he knew straight up when he said that he found that like he found the company's policy wrong and foolish and like stupid, and like he couldn't believe that they would do something like that. When he says that live publicly to the world, he's basically saying, you guys are assholes. And they are like, if you're gonna burn a bridge with the company, it was like, if it was a fine company to burn a bridge to, it was basically the bridge on the River Kwai. No one was crossing it.
I don't remember it being as harsh as that. I do remember us talking about like it's an example of Keeley having some balls, but I don't remember it being like I don't remember it being as harsh as what. I don't remember being as harsh as this. I will say though, any of the Konami stuff, have they had anything exciting other than this in the last 5 years, 6 years?
Konami? No, I mean there's every so often they shit out a re-release. They shit out a re-release, exactly.
No, the big one that I think is going to hurt Summer Games Fest is that no GTA 6, like that's coming out supposedly Q4 2025.
Yeah.
Or 2024.
No, next year.
No, yeah, okay, 2025. Yeah. I guess it is still technically kind of early to see anything of it, but a year and a half is.
Rockstar will never be there because Rockstar has no point to be there. Rockstar is their own event.
Yeah, they know. I
There's
guess.
zero reason for Rockstar to ever show up to one of these things. They will announce on Twitter in 3 days we're going to have a new GTA 6 trailer, and then in 3 days YouTube will literally break just from Rockstar putting their
That's true.
trailer up. They're not here. They haven't been here. They haven't been anywhere. The last time Rockstar was ever really at any of these events was when Peter Moore revealed his tattoo on stage for the 360. That was pretty much the end of it.
So there's going to be nothing. There's going to be nothing at Summer Games Fest because Xbox isn't going to show anything big. They're going to save that for their fest.
Well, I think there's two things that are going to happen this does happen there, where like Ubisoft and Microsoft will have like a small teaser, and then Keeley's going to say if you want to see more, tune into their thing in a couple days.
Okay.
So there will be, and he's done that with Ubisoft before, and I think that's going to happen again here with Microsoft as well, where there will be like a teaser, and then more will be shown later. So it's kind of
It'll be
more
an
just
Elder Scrolls teaser.
well, yeah.
It's gonna be Elder Scrolls 6 teaser, and then they'll just tell you on Sunday that like, we're still years away, but but thanks for tuning in. I do have things that I'm hoping to see at the Xbox Games Fest too, or Games Showcase. But like, I was trying to think of things that I would be, the Summer Games Snooze Fest, if it's gonna be that this year. Things that I was hoping to see there. Obviously, it'd be nice to see something update on Marathon, but I don't. Judging by how small the teaser was,
Mm.
this is going to be like they're going to show more of Concord, the stuff that was at the State of Play. They might show a little bit more at the Games Fest. Um, I I honestly like. Other than Marathon, can you think of something that like might be because they would have showed that in their State of Play if.
Oh, Death Stranding 2 is going to be shown there. That's what's being shown for Sony. It's
Yeah,
Death
do you
Stranding.
think you're gonna?
It's Death Stranding 2. That's absolutely. And then I think here is maybe where you see like an update on Helldivers 2.
Okay,
Like
that'll
that's what Sony's probably doing, because obviously the Kojima thing and everything is like meme or not, like people kind of just assume you're going to see Kojima stuff
Kojima stuff. Yeah.
at Keeley's event. So Sony's probably smart to just put Death Stranding 2. If we have a new trailer, put it there, and then they'll have an update on Helldivers 2. Even if it's just a small gameplay update, it's a good place to show it.
Especially because Helldivers 2 is having a drop off now, right? So this is kind of there's a little bit of a drop off for Helldivers 2 going on.
I mean, Sony caused it, so
Yeah, but I know that like it's also we're now hitting that point where unless they start updating game modes or update like fatigue's going to set
they
in.
did recently introduce black holes, where a black hole appeared and sucked up a planet.
I don't. Yeah, see, I didn't hear about that. This is how much we're at that 6-month point where the internet just sort of forgets that thing exists.
I mean, they're doing a thing. I think they're doing a thing for those who are kind of like logging in. Like the black hole all of a sudden appearing to me is like, I think it's like a plot setup where they're like, who caused a space time anomaly here? So
Right.
I think it's all teasing towards the third alien race, or the third enemy hostile force they're going to introduce probably sometime this year.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good to see. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a major, unless because Kojima, if he has anything. Oh, you know what? Maybe Kojima's thing for Xbox will be.
OD.
Yeah,
It could be. I think the other thing too is that what's be weird, because if Sony has a Death Stranding 2 thing there, and then also his Xbox thing there, a little weird,
that
but
could be
whatever.
why they agree to do it because Kojima is actually friends with Keeley.
Right.
Like they are actual sort of buddies.
I think Microsoft's actually going to mostly be updates on their games from January. So like Avowed
Yeah,
and other stuff like that. We're like, okay, here's like a little bit of an update for Avowed. We don't need to necessarily talk about it at the Microsoft Game Show as much because one, we've already talked about it. It has a really,
right.
we'll have like an update at Keeley's thing. Maybe even the same for Indiana Jones. I don't know how much more there is to say. I don't think Indiana Jones actually even needs much more. Like you revealed the game, you revealed how it's first person most of the
Yeah.
time, which it still is like, okay, yeah, but I guess that part of me is like, oh, it's kind of a bummer. But the other part of me is like, well, I'd rather a game developer stick to what they know really well than, you know, make like an third person. So there's that. I think my biggest disappointment right now is sadly, and this is going to sound horrible, but it's like getting Troy Baker for Indiana Jones is to me is just so kind of a bummer because it's like I
Why?
wasn't not that I was expecting them to get Harrison Ford, though part of me is like, you have the money, Microsoft, put up. But on the other hand, I'm also like, there are better Harrison Ford impersonators out there, but I also don't know their range, which is the
I,
important part because Troy probably has range over someone who could
oh,
do good impersonation.
I don't know anything about him personally. I don't know if he's like the internet darling or if like
It's
people
not
don't
even
like
so
him.
much just Troy. It's just the fact that like what I heard in that trailer, I'm like, you're not. I'm like, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is like it's sort of like Nolan North, Troy Baker and Nolan North being in the same breath of range and kind of like ubiquity is because they have range.
Mhm.
So, you know, is he going to be the perfect voice? I don't know. Is he going to nail the character? Probably. That dude can probably nail that character.
Yeah.
Um, you know, what I would say is was I disappointed in it not being third person? Yeah, but these guys know how to make they're
Real good.
gonna yeah, they're gonna make something engaging, and so while I would have loved to be able to see Indy, swinging and punching and stuff while doing it, I also am biased towards third person in general, as we've talked about before, so, I can't really judge on there. I don't know if they're gonna show anything for Indy, though, at this rather than at, the showcase for Xbox. Maybe I wonder how much they're gonna do teasing on it, like, how much are they gonna show something for, like, Black Ops? Since we know that there's gonna be an entire Black Ops
Uh,
thing.
yeah. Well, okay. I could. Yeah. Would they tease it at Summer Games Fest and then say, "Hey, show up here," or do they wait for Sunday and tease it at Microsoft and say, "Stick around after the show," or do they do both? Even.
Right, I don't really know, and the other thing is, like, we know we've talked about it several times, this year in general is light for things coming out this year.
Yeah, well,
2025
and
might also be light.
that is literally what Keely is trying to say. It's a light year for gaming. It's funny because I saw some people were kind of like, um, on his ass about that, saying like, so that's because all you care about is AAA Western titles, and there's a bunch of you show like Yakuza 8 and Rebirth, and it's like, okay, to be fair, I think he was talking about the rest of the year, not the year that's already happened. To be fair, and secondly, he is talking about the money makers, because as
Right.
much as I love some of the other stuff, Rebirth is underselling. Yakuza sells good but not great. Like he's talking about he is absolutely talking about your Baldur's Gate 3s, and your God of War like Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 and
Well, also, we can to defend that idea is like just because a game is a big budget, you know, uh not a think piece, but like a big budget spectacle, Hellblade 2 is a flash in the pan, right? Like people have literally stopped talking about Hellblade 2 already. I've played 3 or 4 hours of it and
yeah,
haven't
about
felt
an
any.
hour or two, but it's
Beautiful
cool.
game. It
Yeah,
is
right.
very it's more of the same. I don't know why people are, like, saying, like, "Ugh, it's a letdown." It's like, it's exactly what the first game was, and I liked that, so, uh, but anyway, not to go on a diatribe, but just saying that, like, it's fallen out of so I get what other people are saying is like, "Oh, he only cares about big Western, you know, hyper money
He's
triple
talking
A."
he's talking about games that sell 10 million copies.
Right. But that being said, I think he is also talking about the 12 months post Summer Games Fest.
Mhm.
Like anybody that thinks he's going to really talk about or give a shit about the things that happened before the Summer Games Fest in this year, like that's not what that show's about, right? That'll be the
Right, yeah.
TGA or whatever. Um, you know, I also think one thing that I'm sort of impressed by, but I think it's mostly because he had no choice, is him acknowledging and like upfront saying like this is going to be a light year. He didn't have a choice, right? Because it's going to be a small show in terms. and he didn't say it was going to be a bad show. All right, we don't just because there's no AAA huge titles
Mhm.
being dropped probably doesn't mean that
And
there's
he,
going
and,
to be
you know, he was also saying like it's going to be more about updates and less about reveals.
right. Um, you know,
Yeah.
I do sort of applaud that he's outright saying it rather than trying to like get as many butts and seats by promising spectacle. That being said, it might be just because he can't. He can't promise any sort of spectacle at all. And so he's tempering your expectations because he knows that he's going to fall short of that even.
Hmm.
I hope not. And I sort of doubt he's planning for that. I don't think he's the type of guy that
Yeah, well,
ever thinks it's happening.
there's a kind of almost sickness that permeates E3 season, we'll call it for lack of a better term, where everyone's looking for this incredible mic drop moment or like a multiple mic drop moment, you know,
Well,
where this thing that defined your childhood, because, you know, again, media is now what defines us as human beings, shows and games and movies apparently. And
it's
that's getting brought back, and it's getting brought back with a $500 million budget, and it's going to be the most biggest epicest thing ever, and it's everything you ever liked as a kid, you know, all coming back all at once. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. But yeah, there's like this weird sickness that just permeates this whole,
well,
you know, I'm looking for, like, you know, every time they want the sort of once in a generation, you know, press conference that, I mean, when you really look back at the last 20 years of press conferences and whatever, you had like a handful, like four or something, that you could really sit there and be like, these are all timer, you
well,
know, press
okay.
comp, like, you know, like this had so many amazing announcements and games and da 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 da.
There was like a 5-year run there where every year had at least one, you know, losing your mind thing. There was. I think that what that told the industry is that they needed to lean hard into nostalgia, you know. Uh, and I think they tried to and then now can't follow through, which is why like KOTOR, they really thought KOTOR bringing back KOTOR was going to be like the
I mean,
thing.
it could have been, but
Could have
like,
been. Yeah. Follow through on that's going to be difficult though.
well, it's so weird because in all the problems with Code, like never once has it ever gone back to BioWare.
No, which is strange. I mean, all what is the BioWare thing? Well, their ex BioWare is like Exodus is going to be the. Isn't that ex BioWare guys that are doing?
Well, I mean, BioWare still exists, so that's.
Yeah, yeah, but like the guys that like the ex BioWare guys that did they worked on like Mass Effect or no, Mass Effect's not these guys, right?
Or
I don't know. I
more Dragon. Well, that's the other thing. Dragon Age Dreadwolf is rumored to be, now it's rumored to be working under a different title, which probably for the best. Dreadwolf sounds like a spinoff, not really a mainline Dragon Age game. Um,
yeah. Well, the point I'm getting at is like the talent pool for game development is bigger than it's ever been. But there's because the industry has gone out of its way to kill any sort of following specifically for a development team,
mhm.
they can't rely on that as a like you can't just say like, "Oh, the you have to get like really obscure. The X guys that worked on this game that you love, some of them are also working on this game that you love."
Yeah.
Great. You know, it's one of the reasons why in the last few years you really have that push to have an auteur video game director, right? We've talked about this in other episodes where it's like the good thing about auteurs is you can hang a franchise's success on them. You can go, well, this is going to be Kojima's next game, and it can put, you know, it can guarantee some sales.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, you look at these like devs are pursuing some sort of celebrity in a sense to in order to try and get that pull, you know, to have that sway.
Well, I mean, think of it this way, too. Like, making yourself known by name is fantastic in an industry that loves to just chew up and spit out talent like
Right.
it's nothing.
Right,
So,
and, well, and that's what I'm getting at is, like, we don't have the we have less and less nostalgia boners, and so now they're going more they're trying to find those nostalgia boners another way. "Oh, you love Mass Effect? You'll love Exodus." because it's
Mm,
made by the guys. It's made by
yeah.
some of the guys. There could be 3 dudes on it. I don't know.
I think the
But
thing is with the yeah, with the amount of time though that it's and I thought, I made remember the biggest mistake. I never said this like I never was like I never said this publicly, but I remember when Grand Theft Auto 5 was announced, just announced. And I remember like I wonder I'm like is Grand Theft I mean is because it was taking so long from what seemed like so long from 4 to 5, right?
mhm.
Because 4 was like 2008 and then like 5 was 2013.
Yeah,
So
it
it
was a
was like
while.
it was like 5 years or something between releases. And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, are people really going to be all that jazzed about another Grand Theft Auto again? You know, and to be fair, this is coming off of 4.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, 4 is probably the most sort of like forgotten Grand Theft Auto.
No,
Like
I know a lot of people who really loved like 4's attempt at of like online. Like it had the things we loved about Red Dead Online, sort of, but in Liberty City. The amount of time that I spent
didn't
messing around just in
didn't 4 come out before Red Dead?
yeah,
No,
it
4
didn't
yeah, it did. 4 came out before Red Dead Redemption. I'm almost positive it did.
did it
4
really? Damn, I have that
4
totally
is like
mixed up.
4 is like 2 Grand Theft Auto 4 is like 2008. Red Dead is like 2010 or 2009,
Why did
maybe
I
even
think there was
2011.
other direct I for some reason that's flipped in my head. I'll have to Google and make sure. But the point is the same things that people loved about Red Dead. Maybe Red Dead is the more refined version of it. Is what wandering around Liberty City instead of riding around on a horse, which was more fun. Uh, Tricking people to get hit by trains. Um, that's still a thing. Like that was
Yeah,
I remember that
Red Dead
excitement.
came out 2 years after GTA 4. GTA 4 was delayed even from 2007 to 2008, but then Red Dead came out in 2010.
Right. So okay, so the seeds of what we loved about Red Dead's online lobby was in 4. Like you could do the heists and stuff.
Well,
I
either
think
way,
you also
I just
wander around.
remember thinking, before 5 came out, I'm like, I don't know, are people still like I didn't think it would sell bad. I was just like, I think GTA might kind of it might be just stagnating, and it goes on to be the best selling game of all time.
Right.
Granted,
Yes.
a lot of that was almost after the fact, was even years after its release because
Mhm.
its online took off. But yeah, I just remember thinking there was a point in time where I was like, I don't know, it's been so long since the last GTA, and the last GTA was not as universally loved as 3 or Vice City
Vice City.
was. San Andreas was mostly well received too. I mean, some people just didn't like the time and setting, because 90s just isn't as cool as the 80s. So, but like I remember even I was blown away by how much you could do in San
Yeah.
Andreas.
San Andreas was intense. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
parts of it ran like shit, but it was intense.
right, but that's the thing is like 4, even though it was on the 360, graphically, yes, huge upgrade, but also sort of a downgrade because it wasn't quite as big as San Andreas, didn't have quite as much crazy systems. Like to me, I was like, okay, maybe Grand Theft Auto. I don't know. Maybe it's been 5 years, and or, I don't know. I wonder how many people are still really going to be in. Everyone's going to be in.
Well,
So
look, I mean,
it's not to be the best selling game.
if you're
So
gonna be wrong seldomly, at least be wrong big. I'm wrong all the time about little shit. I was wrong a minute ago when I thought that Red Dead happened before. I remember playing I don't know why I remember playing Red Dead as a teenager, but I would have been like
we
20.
Revolver. You played as a teenager.
Oh, definitely I
You
did. Yeah.
definitely played Red Dead Revolver, but you didn't play Red Dead Redemption.
No, I guess yeah, it would have been like 20. So if it was 2010, I would have been 22. Oh man.
Well,
Old.
anyways, so I was super wrong about like I don't know, but the part of me sits there and wonders like with Exodus, getting back to that, and the new Mass Effect game that they have officially announced. I'm like, has it been too long since the last Mass Effect being ass? Like,
Last Mass Effect isn't out. Oh, well, Andromeda actually. Yeah, I don't really remember. I was thinking 3. Sorry, the last true Mass Effect was not ass. Nobody remembers Andromeda, so we can just skip over that.
I mean, like we're talking like it's gonna be 20, no, not 20, like 15 plus years, 15 to 18 years by the time we get back to Mass Effect. That's a long time since a Mass Effect anyone liked came out.
Well, so here's my worry. We haven't seen gameplay of Exodus yet. I think if Exodus's gameplay hits that swing of like what made say 3 good combat wise, because 3 people don't remember how bad it wasn't bad, it was stilted, how stilted combat was and movement was in the first Mass Effect, right?
Oh, I remember.
Well, yeah, you remember.
That was
I
supposed to
just
be like the
recently,
trilogy.
yeah.
And it was like it's shocking how much of an upgrade 2 was to 1.
Yeah,
And those are
and then 3 even goes even further to make it more fluid. I don't know, it lost a couple things, but it gained a lot in fluidity. So, once we see gameplay, I think we'll know. I think that if it offers the same level of exploration and kind of world building that Mass Effect had, Exodus is gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. It's a new IP from, in the same vein of Mass Effect. I see it being big.
I think well, here's the thing. I think the concept, the general concept of Mass Effect is very appealing.
It sells.
Yeah,
It's good. Yeah.
it does. There, but there is sort of a thing that sort of hits you when you get into. Obviously, they're not going to call it Mass Effect 4.
No.
They're not going to, or even Zero or Origins or anything. They're gonna. It's just going to be Mass Effect something. But like, it has runs into that problem where it's like, okay, it's going to be a new Mass Effect game.
Mhm.
People will sit there and start to wonder how. And there's a weird hesitancy, and I see it because I'm always preaching the Church of Xenoblade, where it's like people get hesitant on franchise games now, especially RPG games, especially story heavy games, which is so weird because people crave. I mean, Marvel, brain rotted people into craving interconnectivity between things, and at the
Right.
same time, it also causes people like, I don't know, I don't want to be lost, or how much do I have to play to catch up? And it's like, oh my god, like do you want everything to be interconnected or not?
See, I think where they haven't really released any details about Mass Effect 4, so I guess
No, not at all. So we don't really know where it's going, but we do know
it's
it's
gotta be
going to be
Anderson,
the.
right? It's gotta
Hmm?
be Anderson. We gotta be playing as Anderson in the when we make contact, where we fight the Turians and shit. Come on.
All we know, it will be the fifth Mass Effect game.
Yeah, 5th, yeah.
So that's going to carry weight with it one way or another.
Yeah, I think they're gonna go with Keith David's character,
Hmm.
in the First Contact stuff. That'll be how they connect it to everything. You'll meet like a young Saren and shit like that, and people will be like, "Oh, this is great." Uh, I'm very curious to see like one if it comes out similar time as Exodus, because again, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that right. Is that Exodus is Mass Effect people, but
Hmm.
um, and isn't Exodus also the McConaughey game? Am I remembering that right? What's the Matthew McConaughey game that everybody was like? Do you remember that?
No,
Um,
actually, I
Goo
don't.
Google that shit real quick because there's, like, something that people were I vaguely remember that.
Let's see
Um,
here.
I don't think we're gonna see anything for Exodus.
New AAA science fiction exhibition role playing franchise from Archetype, and this just looks like Mass Effect. Was Matthew? No, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what game. Are you sure it was Matthew McConaughey, or was it someone just looked like him?
I vaguely remember there's a video game that Matthew McConaughey is a part of. Uh, oh, well, it is ex-BioWare people. Um, yeah, I don't remember exactly. I just vaguely remember this thing where it was
It is. Oh, it is. It is Exodus.
yeah, okay, yeah, I thought so. Um,
Okay, you are 100% correct. You're remembering everything correctly.
hell
Here,
yeah,
Andrew. It is. It is.
for once. Finally, my time to shine.
I don't even remember this shit because like Mass Effect is. Here's the thing, like even and this is I'm throwing more to throw more poo at Concord. So much of Western sci-fi has this homogenized
Clay
look
look. Yeah.
look to it that like a lot of art and detail goes into this stuff, but it all comes out looking the same.
Well, you know what it is like we have this futurism belief now. Like in the 80s, we thought the future was going to be dystopian. And so every future was just like garbage heaps and fucking orange lighting. And then, your Mad Maxes and all that shit. And then now we have this like weird techno futurism bent where the future, no matter what, is just going to be super clean and all the different races are going to be humanoid and it's just like we're all going to meld well. And I don't know why we have that. I would love a Mass Effect where the future is dirty, grimy, and all sorts of messed up, but
Well, the weird thing is just kind of like I don't know, man. Like, there's a part of me that really wishes they would really just start embracing the fucking weird in Western game like artwork because like
oh yeah,
it like we've referenced him plenty of times, but like going for something like what Mobius is, it's like that don't look like nothing.
yeah.
That looks like nothing. That is just weird. Like
That's why Sable's so friggin' good.
right. So I'm like, I wish Western art design would go a little more for that because like I don't even know what you would call Exodus other than like I guess the easiest way to say it is sort of like the Mass Effect style of futurism. With those that sort of that exosuits and
From what
those
we've
sort of.
seen, yeah, yeah. Uh, I would genuinely be interested to see a take where like humanoids are not the dominant species, you
Yeah.
know? Uh, even in Mass Effect, everything walks on two legs and, or well, except for like what the Elcor or whatever. But like you have the jellyfish guys and stuff like that. Like the main character being a jellyfish man would
Hmm.
be pretty
Well, I
intense.
mean, you're asking for a nightmare of
How do you
animation
design?
and
Yeah.
rigging and like, ugh, you
Uh,
know.
oh, 100%. I understand why it's not happening. I'm never going to hold it against them. I just would
I mean,
like that.
I would say like if you were gonna say like why is everything bipedal, you would sit there and be like, I would say, like, well, we're referencing the Fermi paradox and a possibility where they what's called I think it's called congruent evolution that
Right.
basically says like, well, things all kind of end up going this way because that's just the path of evolution will take no matter what. So the Fermi paradox doesn't say that's a definite. They're just saying like this is a possibility. Like,
Right. And there is an actual theory about like the reason why anything we find is going to have, you know, manipulators like fingers and opposable thumbs. It's because it's one of the best ways to manipulate tools, and anything that gets into space is going to have to
mhm.
manipulate tools unless they're octopus people because tentacles.
It's funny because like yeah, everything always like in any sci-fi like people are like what's an alien look like and it always ends up looking like a squid of some sort.
Yeah, well, because octopus is the only other thing that's sort of weirdly intelligent enough, right? Is an
Well, I mean,
octopus
I mean when
super?
you see what a mimic octopus can do, you're just kind of like I
You want to freak yourself out about what aliens we might run into. Look up octopus like on YouTube. There's videos of octopus solving complex problems and puzzles.
yeah, yeah.
And they can do some shit. Like they can do some like you ever see a crow solve problems and you're kind of like, I don't like this. They're gonna come for me next. Like watching octopus solve problems and stuff like that aquarium somewhere in the United States, but it's an aquarium that an octopus, they kept losing exotic fish in a tank on the other side of the aquarium. And then
Yep.
finally they set up cameras to find out who's stealing them. And it's an octopus getting out of its tank, sneaking through and unlocking a bunch of different doors and shit, stealing a fish out of the other tank, and then going back before the next
Goes
day.
back.
And you're just like, what? 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 No, 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 no. We got to kill
to, to
him.
be fair, there's another one too. Like there's a great story. I think it was in San Diego even. I don't know if it was San Diego Zoo or it was another zoo. I think it was San Diego Zoo. There was an orangutan. He kept getting out of his cage and he kept getting out like sometimes during hours, but usually not during working hours. And what he did is he found a piece of like a chain link fence, like a little like metal strip, and he hid it under his gums
Oh,
and he waited like under in his like like in his gum and he waited for the zookeepers to go home and he would take it out, he would unlock the lock, and
nope.
then he would go into other exhibits to visit other animals. and flirt with the other female orangutans.
I've seen this movie. Okay. We need to go now. Now,
And
well, we have been told.
apparently, like apparently this even happens sometimes during visiting hours, and he would just go and hang out with people. Like he actually thought humans were cool, and he liked to just chill with them. The
Yeah, he
only
sees us
thing
eating like churros and shit.
And
He's like, "Oh,
apparently the only thing he didn't like was a rival male orangutan. That was the only orangutan he had problems with, was a rival male. But he would literally he would like he had a
mm-mm."
tool, he would hide the tool, and he would use the tool to pick a lock when he would wait intentionally for people to go home so he could go and have after hours
Nope.
flirting times with the female orangutans.
Look, hey, I recognize the talent and I appreciate him, and I hope he got all of the orangutan that he wanted. Um, we gotta kill him, right?
Hell no.
We gotta kill him before he teaches the
No.
others.
No, no. Okay, apes have a great society. Shall not kill ape. It's in their rule book.
We should,
That's totally not true. But
we have to we
if
have to go to war now.
there's anything the Planet of the Apes films kind of did that sort of like damage people's mindset, is that apes are not benevolent. Chimpanzees are murderous.
Yeah. Nope.
They are cannibalistic, murderous, like hate-filled creatures. The
So
bonobos are benevolent, but like the chimpanzees, no.
they need to. That's what the next Mass Effect is. You're just playing as an orangutan. That's what it.
Oh,
That
I would.
is what you're playing like the Planet of the Apes way, way in the future after humans have been way off dead, and you're an orangutan spaceship captain.
I would be
Like,
so
give me that
awesome.
shit.
Could you imagine them doing like a Metroid thing where you're a dude in a suit with a helmet the whole game, like a Metroid thing, and then at the end you take it off and then you're an ape, and it's like, oh, this is actually connected to the Planet of the Apes. You're like a bonobo or a chimpanzee or an orangutan or a gorilla, like the whole
What
time.
what does combat boots look like for like a combat orangutan? Like, is it like gloves with thicker pads on the finger? Like,
It would be like your shoes you had, where it's like little
oh
like
yeah, my little finger gloves.
finger
Finger
glove
gloves.
shoes, whatever the toe shoe things, where
Yeah,
like
hell
each
yeah.
individual toe is separated, but it's a shoe.
So comfortable, so stupid looking. I understand that
But
it's
think
dumb.
about that.
Not so
If you had sentient orangutans, in space, they probably have their astronaut suits would probably look like that.
see, I just give us money, whoever. Just well, I don't know anything about developing. I'm not going to pretend that having an idea matters, but um, the point is we're not going to see any of this at Summer Games Fest. I one thing. What do you think is the biggest thing? You've already done your bingo card. What do you think is the biggest thing that's going to show? Is it really Death Stranding 2 is going to be the biggest thing?
Technically, I think it's going to be Elden Ring DLC. Like,
Yeah, well, that was
because
confirmed, right? That was
yeah, and that's
yeah.
like that's coming out at the end of the month. It's like a 12 million selling game. People are going to be
Okay.
all over it, and it's weird because I really don't want to downplay, because I really did enjoy Elden Ring like a lot. But 2.5 years is an incredibly long time for DLC. And
Yeah.
if it is a meaty long DLC, great, that's awesome. I've seen some of the teaser footage or whatever that's come out, and I'm like, yeah, more Elden Ring. Looks like more Elden Ring.
But if a DLC is the biggest thing at your show, is that not a problem? Uh, okay.
Well, here's the thing. We're trained to think of DLC as not that substantial.
No,
There are,
that's true. Yeah.
but when you think about, like, say, for example, for what you Blood and Wine, right?
Yeah.
Substantial DLC.
Yeah.
You could sit there and say that's the best thing coming out this year. It probably was for Witcher 3 fans, you
Mhm.
know?
And it's a fair thing because Blood and Wine was actually good.
I, I,
We've
I'm
been saying,
I'm in favor of DLC that's basically like a standalone product, rather than having like a big sequel take way too long to make. I'd rather have just a really big, substantial, meaty DLC campaign.
no, and that's fair, but we've been saying for a while now that this is going to be a lean year. I just, I guess I thought there'd be at least something like one or two, you know, we said this about the state of play too, where it's like it was actually pretty good. There's something for everybody. There's, um, was it the greatest deal? Was it the greatest state of play ever? I don't think that's going to be the case with the Summer Games Fest. I don't know if there's going to be something for everyone because everyone has their own show now. And
Yeah.
Summer's Games Fest is getting less and less of the pie for announcements.
I think if there's going to be one thing, there is a big tease there that we don't. It's one of two things. It's either Borderlands 4 or it's Bioshock
Oh fuck, we're gonna have to sit through the Borderlands trailer for the movie.
for the movie. Yes, we are. So 2K Games is basically saying there's going to be a big new reveal of a game out of a beloved franchise. A
Right.
lot of people kind of immediately said Borderlands. I was kind of like, yeah, but isn't that Bioshock game been in development forever? Like, isn't this about the time? Because they did the Ken Levine who made Bioshock. He did have his Judas game get announced not that long ago. I feel like now is about the time where 2K is going to show their Bioshock game.
Right.
Because Judas is just Bioshock in space.
That's right. I forgot about Judas. That was one of the ones that I was kind of like, mm, I was maybe on it. Like I was like, oh, I could do it.
Well, I mean, what would excite you more, Borderlands 4 or a new Bioshock? Because either one, honestly, it could be either one of those. I actually thought it was going to be Bioshock. A lot of people are kind of thinking, no, it's got to be Borderlands because that movie. They're going to have the movie trailer, and then we're going to show.
I think it's going to be
Border-
Borderlands. Yeah, I do. What would excite me more? Probably Bioshock, only because I think Borderlands is stretched thin now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they've run the runway. I like Borderlands. My wife, that's one of her favorite games. Like that game series, she'll play every single Borderlands. She plays it all the time. Like once a year, she'll go through one of the games, at least. The problem I have is that like there's no, they haven't done any variety with it.
Hmm.
Basically, it's sort of it's run its
Run
course.
its course. Yeah,
So
maybe that's what something with 4 can be showing that like something that'll like
that'd be
rejuvenate
cool.
it.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
My guess would be a heavy emphasis on vehicular combat in a Borderlands 4. It just seems like the natural level. Like, where are they going to go? Probably vehicles. Probably.
I guess. Yeah.
Although it would be interesting. It'll be really interesting to me for Borderlands. What if it was a seafaring Borderlands and you had like speedboats and you were island hopping in a weird alien planet?
Give me a little bit of Borderlands.
Like Waterworld, Mad Max, Borderlands, Far Cry.
Okay,
Like
I see you left out one particularly poorly done Sail to Islands
Skull and Bones.
experience. No, everyone's favorite Zelda.
Oh, Wind Waker. Well, I mean,
We're just
they're not going to pull anything from Wind Waker for a Borderlands game,
I
but it's
think
cell shaded though, I guess.
they could make a lot of jokes about every single like water world. They could make a lot of water world jokes. They could make a lot of Wind Waker jokes. They could make a lot of actually, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. If they actually did that, and I'm not saying they did, but like a seafaring the ocean wastes of Pandora, like they could do that. And that could be a legit way to really
Yeah, like Sea of Thieves, that bitch,
yeah.
with a lot of guns.
Yeah, and I mean, like, think of all the jokes you get, like the ocean liners, and you could like take a cruise ship, or you could go to like port cities that are
Hmm.
big. Like, there's actually like that's actually right.
Put a bunch of weird casino mini games somewhere.
You got speedboats and all sort. Hmm. I don't think they're gonna do it.
Not gonna do it, but I
I don't think
probably
that's what it is.
we probably just came up with a better Borderlands than whatever the fuck Magic Randy's gonna come up with. But
No, are you kidding me? Randy Pitchford does enough drugs that I think he probably came up with something whacked out. I think what happens is that he gets expectations get tempered because they're like, yeah, we could build that. It's going to take 7 years to do. And he's like, I can't wait 7 years. What are you talking about? You gotta I need
because
money.
because here's the thing: the problem with Borderlands, in your mind, can you differentiate what 1, 2, and 3? What differentiates 1, 2, and 3 visually?
Well, visually, no. There's definitely different vehicles, but even then, it's very slight
But
differences.
it's like desert, maybe snow. Like
Borderlands 1 had a lightning in the bottle with the humor.
Right.
Borderlands 2 took so long. Was it Borderlands 2 or 3 when
3
everything
was
felt
3 was really dated because the 3 came out way longer. Like they were the
right?
dialogue for 3 was recorded so long much before the
Right,
game
that's
came
right.
out.
1 was lightning in the bottle in terms of the humor, but, like, the gameplay itself was sorta basic. 2 was lightning in a bottle where, like, 1, the villain was way better, I think it was
Handsome Jack, yeah.
yeah, it was Handsome Jack. The villain was way better, and the humor was still sort of on point, but then the combat and everything, like, the different types of combat you could do got an upgrade. 3 had problems because everything felt dated because it just took too long. This, I don't know if they would make enough of a leap. If they did like a big leap, you know, where you had like air combat for whatever reason,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
then yeah, I could see that happening. That'd be a really cool like that would actually if they somehow dropped a totally fresh take on Borderlands, that would hype me up big time. Yeah. Uh BioShock, I just think like it is ripe for some new BioShock. There's
Where would you set an interest? Because okay, so Judas is doing Bioshock in space,
in space.
and you have 50s Cold War, Deco Cold War under the sea for the first 2 Bioshocks. And
Yeah.
then you have Infinite, which is turn of the century sky racists.
Yeah.
Um, where do you go for Bioshock now, like to make it interesting?
Well, I do think that there's not going to be. I don't know that they're going to focus on isolation the way isolation
Yeah,
has
because
been a theme.
part of me is kind of like you should probably go maybe a little more man in the high castle with it.
Yeah, alternate. Yeah,
Alternate history at that point. I mean, Bioshock is alternate history, but I mean, like really alternate. Like, like what if Germany won one of those world wars?
yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, I I honestly think that they'll probably go more Far Cry, where it's a straight up island now instead of
Mm,
it'll be island and open world type thing. That'd be my guess where they would go with it, but um,
I would go. This would be weird, but I would go South America, Argentina, something like that, right? And I would have this really weirdly advanced, kind of still sort of keep the deco design, but like monorails, high speed rails, like all this, like
mm,
this weird utopia somewhere, like like that's sort of cut off from the rest of the nation, somewhere like deep, in Paraguay or Uruguay or something like that. And it's like it's a very isolated city, has like it basically runs its own little like municipality principality, and it's about like kind of going in there
yeah,
and then sort of like discovering, so how was this, why is there this really weirdly advanced city in the middle of South America in like the 50s or something.
fucking
And
Nazis.
well, yeah, I mean, you know where I'm going with
Yeah.
this. But like
Uh,
you could do some real
mhm.
life shit too, where like you go there and then like there's like this plethora of twins, where like there's so many twins around. This actually happened in real life, by the
Yeah.
way. So if anyone wants some weird history fact, yeah, this happened in Paraguay, Uruguay, I forget where, but there was like some small villages where there was an abundance of twins being born. Why? Because one of the most twisted human beings that ever lived on the face of the earth was actually really into eugenics and was trying to basically discover the key to having twins, and he was literally trying to breed up a resurgence of German twins in South America to basically rebuild the Third Reich. This actually happened. So,
Yeah. You could another along those same lines, if you wanted to center it on American history, sort of the same that BioShock has before. Alternate history of where did the Confederates try to start a new kingdom or whatever in the middle of South America? Was that in Brazil? They bought a bunch of land with
was it Brazil?
Confederate blood money and then
I know what you're talking about.
failed miserably.
Well, the Mormons tried to do that in Mexico too.
Well,
Not that I want to conflate Mormons with Confederates. I'm just saying there's like
I was gonna say they're not
there's
the
a,
exact same.
no, there's a big chunk of land in Mexico where a bunch of Mormon settlers went because you know uh, their whole thing was they fell in love with Utah and said this is the promised land is Utah.
Mhm.
But there was a huge branch that went down to an area in Mexico and was trying to start like, a Mormon, country down in the kind of like just the middle of Mexico.
That's
But yeah, no,
wild.
it's still there. It still exists. Um,
And there's just like straight up Mormons running around?
yeah, it's just like a town full of Mormons. It's like a little mini
Huh.
Utah down in the middle of Mexico.
That's very nice. That's a little
The
wholesome.
world is weird, man. What can I say?
This is a total weird aside, but like for anyone that's never met a Mormon, they're all just like super polite. And they go on like missions and stuff like that. And so one time I was walking through a park and two Mormons on their mission just get invited by a family to play football in the park. And all of a sudden, you see these Mormons take off their nice shoes and everything and like take off their tie and then just go full fucking ham playing some like touch football with this fan. I mean, like really going hard. Grass stains all over their white shirts. I mean, like not, not backing down at all. They
That's
were like
awesome.
full on and then just like gather up, put on their tie, put on it, and then continue on their mission, just now covered in grass and grass stains and shit. And I was just like, okay. Like you answer the door, they're all like, "Hey, do you have a minute to talk about your Lord and
Like,
Savior Jesus Christ?" And they're just like,
hello, I
"Wake up
have
in
a
the
book to
what?"
share. Yeah, sorry.
Fair, total aside, but to
Do you know
wrap
they
up
started? You know they
conversation,
started advertising at that show.
yeah, oh yeah,
They bought advertising space on the brochures.
yeah, and they don't, and it doesn't say anything negative about the show. It just says like you've seen the show now. Learn,
He's like, "You want to learn more?" It's like,
yeah, learn about the people. Yeah,
I was like, you know what? That's actually kind of brilliant. They're just rolling with it and just like, hey, come
mhm.
come to this website.
Yeah, yeah. I don't, not my cup of tea, but I don't really have anything against Mormons. I suppose I don't. Whatever. Live your life, do you? And I'm glad that they can take a joke. Um, if only the Catholic Church could take a joke, huh?
No, they're
Some
they're
say that's what the Spanish Inquisition was really about. Somebody cracked a really good joke. We came for
like, oh,
'em. um,
look, man, their kink is shame, not humor.
well, some would say that's why we're all so damn funny. Um, the guilt is what makes us funny. The black humor is just because we all feel so guilty. We being the Catholics. So uh, to wrap up thoughts on what I think is going to happen on, or what I think the state of things going into the Summers Game Fest and the Xbox Game Showcase. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on what Ubisoft's going to do because they're
I
this weekend too, right?
Yeah, they are. I think that they'll. My guess is that they'll show Star Wars Outlaws for a little bit at the Summer Games Fest, and then they'll be like, "Hey, see more at the
Yeah,
Ubisoft conference." And the Ubisoft conference walks, we'll have more of Star Wars Outlaws, more of Assassin's Creed Shadows, more of whatever X Defiant. That's the other thing that they're kind of trying to launch right now.
oh, that's right. I didn't remember X Defiant. I sort of figured that they were going to show in depth stuff on the three main games or two main games, but like nothing that's gonna like shock.
Ubisoft's in a lot of trouble, man. For me, like I don't, because I honestly truly did enjoy Frontiers of Pandora, but just a
Right.
weird timing for that game to come out. But I really enjoyed my time playing that game.
Well, the problem is
And
nobody gives a fuck about Avatar.
it's
Well,
a weird, yeah. But it's like if you just want a graphical showpiece and you just want Far Cry on an alien planet, sure. Like I don't. What's the story? Who cares?
right, but like again, nobody cares about Avatar, so it's like
Boom
nobody played
and
that game.
boom and bad. Well, it doesn't help when you still have all the Ubisoft like pay for like Uber deluxe editions and
Right.
locked away DLC on day one kind of thing. That doesn't help its cause much at all. But I mean, it was a fun game. But like that was fun. And then Skull and Bones came out. And Skull and Bones is like, woof. Uh,
I I luckily a listener actually gave me the Skull and Bones. A dude gave me the Skull and Bones beta, and I got to play the beta, and I was actually delightfully surprised. I was like, oh, this is better than I was expecting of it. It's not great, but it is a lot better than what I expected.
Well, yeah, because I actually played the beta too. I helped some of our listeners on that one find the hidden. They had this like treasure hunt thing, so I
Right.
helped them find places on the map because I'm good at that.
You are good at hunting.
But yeah, like it's just you look at that and you're like it's $70 for a persistent online game where like it can be kind of annoying to gather resources if everyone's gathering in the same spot at once. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But either way, like that whole company right now is like, man, I don't know because like they had that 2D Prince of Persia come out. It was great. I had actually a lot of
Yeah.
fun with that, and they just had the Rogue Prince of Persia come out, which apparently is also pretty great.
Oh,
Uh,
I haven't played anything on that. Or
well,
I
like
haven't
they was
played
supposed
any.
to come out and then they delayed it because the Hades 2 early access dropped the day they were going to release it. So they literally put out a statement like, "You're playing Hades 2, you know it, we know it. We're just going to push the game back a little bit and hope you guys."
That's rough.
I mean, I thought I loved how candid it was. Where they're just like, I look, you're playing Hades 2 early access. You know it, we know it. We're playing it too. Like we're gonna push this back like a week or so, and then hopefully by then you'll have you'll be more they'll be more inclined to like try out our little, and apparently it's very good. It's by
Hmm.
the what's it, the Dead Cells people, I think. Uh,
Really?
yeah, Rogue Prince of Persia, which also came out, which is pretty cool. God knows what's going on with the Sands of Time remake. Like,
Oh, it's never coming.
it's like at this point,
Although that would be cool if they showed something at the Ubisoft showcase for that. That would be a surprise. Like right now, Ubisoft's show is like a nil for me. Like I don't even know if I'm going to watch it. I'll watch the
oh no,
highlights later.
well, yeah. If,
Um,
if anything interesting comes out, I'll check out in hindsight, kind of
you
thing.
know, Xbox showcase. There's a couple things that like I bet that it's not going to be there, but like I hold out hope. In my heart.
Apparently, it's being hyped up. It's going to be like 2 hours long. There's going to be like 30 unannounced games at the Microsoft one.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but I don't like. We're not going to see anything from Perfect Dark. We're not going to see, well, maybe we'll see something from like Fable. That'd be cool.
Fable, I would assume probably. Perfect Dark is a game where it's like, man, you really should be the time and place to see more.
But especially considering where Halo's sitting, and like I don't know, Perfect Dark would be a good. You could. I just don't think they're going to do it. What was that? There was a game. There was no gameplay, but it was kind of a cool announcement. South of Midnight. That could
Mm,
be like maybe they're going to show something that we'll see some gameplay and see if that hype train keeps going because that looked kind of cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
they have stuff. There was that weird steampunk first person shooter, Clockwork Revolution or something.
right. Yeah, that would be cool to see. Like, I think that if they do, I want to temper my expectations because it just feels like
Well,
we've been slapped in the face.
here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. Microsoft has more than anyone needs to prove their value.
Right.
Like this might be the most important Microsoft press conference for them.
Yeah. If this doesn't kill it, I don't know. I don't look, I would say we have been very optimistic on Xbox for the last like year or
And I
so. We
don't
liked
I
the direction they've been trying to go.
and I don't think the value I don't think we ever like hyped up the like, something that wasn't worth its weight in value. Game Pass has always been worth its weight in value.
Game Pass still worth it. The
It's just that
Series S still worth it.
honestly, the thing, the Microsoft's problem has less to do with, you know, oh, like they suck. They never had anything. It's more to do with the fact that from everything it sounds like Microsoft is running Xbox now, and they were spending all this money to get all these people, and then they just gutted a bunch of things. Like that's the part where it's just kind of like everything started to basically come to a head at the start of this year, where it's like
Yeah.
all the massive layoffs that were happening, and it was just like, well, why did you buy all these people then? Like you just spent $70 billion to lay off like 2,000 people. Why?
Well,
Like you did they I'm sorry, you're Microsoft. You do not need to lay those people off. You did not need to shut down Tango. You did not need to even shut down Arcane Austin. A year ago, we could literally have 1 year ago Phil Spencer saying, we're not shutting down Arcane Austin. We're not going to do that.
right.
Okay, so Phil just got turned a liar, and that probably was out of Phil's hands. Probably more than likely. So
Well, I think what happened in some cases, that was like a shaping operation, right? Like, they not only did they buy people they thought were promising to produce things for them in the future, they bought people they just didn't want producing things
mm,
for anybody.
yeah.
I'm not saying that's definitely what happened. This is my own speculation, obviously, but like, does seem like now in hindsight that they bought some
Well,
people that they just didn't want to have on the table for,
yeah,
so
and there's a great clip with where they were basically Microsoft decided, who are we going to have do the first big interview after all these layoffs? Oh, I know. Let's put Sarah Bond up there, which I could almost, to me that almost reeks of something else to me personally. But um,
they definitely she ate a lot of shit that day.
and
It was-
that
yeah.
she didn't that she should not be the person answering these questions. She should not be the person put in front of the firing squad. And I have very disturbing thoughts as to why they picked that person in particular. But
Mm,
well, I want, I'm not even going to go there. But either way, point is while they were doing this, they had the graph that showed the Game Pass subscriptions, right?
right.
And their whole thing about we got to do growth, where it's like, okay, here's all the years where it's like tiny, tiny, tiny Game Pass, and then 2020 hits, pandemic, brr, like it fucking explodes, and then it shrinks a little bit, little bit, but even where they're at today, compared to where they were pre-pandemic, which was like this little tiny amount, and then it exploded in numbers
Right.
in 2020, and then it's slightly decreased a little, and they're sitting there like, well, we got to get rid of all these people. It's like, but you're still significantly above where you were, pre-pandemic. Like, if
Well,
anything, like your growth is so okay. Just because it's like we're selling, we sell 1 million a year, 1 million, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 10 million, and then it drops down to 8, and it's like, oh, we got to start cutting. Why do you have to start cutting? Your growth rate pre-pandemic was like nothing, and then it exploded, and it's gone down a teeny bit.
they
So
did
you
all
gotta
that expansion with
so
the
you gotta
idea that it would
you gotta
continue.
hire a bunch of people. Like, you still have like 8 times as many people as you did pre-pandemic. So like, you should, if anything, you should be keeping as many people as you can, because you need to keep that you need to keep that those numbers up, and not worry about if it's over slightly down from the year before. Yeah, we all went back to
Mm,
work.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that that's, we could go down a rabbit hole talking about that, and the counterpoint to that is that it's the bullwhip effect, right? Like, they saw that sudden prosperity and overcompensated on expansion for it. And then when things started to come back down, they compensated by cutting labor.
This is stupid, and it's not just Microsoft. Everyone's doing it, and it's all going to bite them in the ass, because the thing is that
Well, that's what this is, right? This is
the
already biting him in the ass.
yeah, like, the game industry is not something where it's like you have, okay, you're working on one piece of software, right? And then you're just like, let's just gut, the department that works on this on Excel.
Hmm.
Because it's like, look, the amount of people and the amount of different jobs and different things, then the talent you need is so varied, and in a group of people that make a video game versus a group of software engineers that make Excel, for example. I don't want to like downplay, what people do for things like Excel or PowerPoint or whatever,
It's
right? But
actually super complex.
it is complex, but I'm like, you're talking about like a lot of really programmers, but it's like, when you make a video game, you need writers, you need artists, a lot of artists, you need different types of artists, you need programmers as well, you need a lot of different types of programmers, you need a lot of physics, engine people, you need all kinds of different things, you need all kinds. It's just a whole different, it's a whole different world.
Well,
And it crosses into the artistic medium in ways other pieces of software, cybersecurity, and office stuff like that doesn't.
right.
That they don't have that sort of artist. Like, you're not trying to make an artistic statement. And the thing is, like, oh, I want to take you to my games. Get out of gaming, because it's like, I don't want to play a game that has no artistic statement. Like,
Well,
you don't get you don't get a game like Shadow of the Colossus by sitting there like, hire a bunch of software engineers to program me a video game that real good. To tighten up the graphics on level 3 bullshit.
yeah. The thing about we're talking about something where it's like institutional knowledge. If you're a game dev who's always worked on, the reason why it matters to say, oh, it's all ex BioWare people working on this Exodus game, uh, it tells you what to expect because you know that they have
Yeah.
institutional knowledge for this particular type of game. It's the same way that like institutional knowledge for TV writers
Yeah.
or writers in general and stuff like all of that stuff is important. And I think game development in particular used to be such a small sort of
Mhm.
niche
Yeah.
that y- they're like, oh, okay, we're going to close down and then you're going to move on to another project. But now that it's becoming such a big, broad industry, it's like, well, you need to start thinking institutionally. You need to start thinking like the guy that's been doing this for 10 years is the best guy to do the next game I want to make, not get rid of him at the end of the production. You
Mhm.
don't have an end of production cycles anymore. You know, you don't have this like it's not like a movie. A game isn't like a movie where like the movie's over, so get rid of all the production staff because we don't
Mhm.
need to keep them on hand. Like the moment a developer's done with a game, one, games aren't done ever anymore.
Right.
But two, the moment that game's done, move them over into the next thing because you need another game in 2 years.
Right. This is the whole thing with Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
where why did Rebirth take so much less time than Remake? And they're like, because we kept all our staff. We just rolled them over into the next game. So we had all this institutional knowledge of what we're doing.
Yeah. And then
We
for
didn't have
people,
to we didn't have to rehire all these people to make part two of three.
uh, something to remember is that like in the business world, the corporate side, when Microsoft is making all these decisions, for instance, that doesn't exist anymore. You are entirely replaceable to their mind. It doesn't matter how well you perform in a lot of instances, they'll just get rid of you when they need to get rid of you, and it's not even your manager's decision. Somebody hands down that, oh, these all these people we picked off of a list have the same job. It doesn't matter who's better or we picked them at random. Get rid of this. That's just how it goes in like the corporate world,
Mhm.
and that doesn't work in an industry, especially in a creative industry where institutional knowledge matters. Um, you know, for lack of a better term, and it's dismissive in a way that I don't necessarily like, but like an email job, 90% of all marketing jobs today are email jobs, unfortunately. 90% of the business jobs that you hear about, most of them happen over email. I'm not saying that it doesn't involve other skills, but like it's an email job. They view all jobs as that. So they don't understand that institutional knowledge matters beyond. They think, okay, well, we'll get them. And if we need them again, we'll find other people to do this email job. Well, you're not necessarily going to find the same level of quality person to program a game, or to develop a game because that institutional knowledge, if they can't get work again in the industry, they leave the industry. And it's the same
Yep.
thing that's happening to the film industry right now, or the entertainment industry in general. But the film industry lost all sorts of people that I know that were editors for 10 years left. They just went to different careers because of how everything sort of just stuttered to a stop during negotiations and stuff, when they were trying to hold out. Now they can't get those people back, so production is still stalled because all those people went on to other careers. And that's going to happen eventually in game development.
Mhm.
If they keep thinking of it as start stop production,
The thing
you
they
can't,
should be the thing that they should be terrified of, and they're not, and I don't know, there's just maybe they have no reason to be terrified. They should be afraid of all of the of talent of this talent exodus leaving and somehow starting their own independent company or own startup, and then maybe something small, but then getting success. Someone comes out, someone has their lethal company or Among Us moment, and then that leads to them, okay, well, now I can go and make the AAA game I used to make, but now I'm not bummed, but I will be no longer beholden to anyone's release date or shareholder thing. You get
we're
enough people turning into Valve and Larian and Hoyoverse, and then what happens then is if that starts bubbling up and those companies keep doing well, and they're never again they never become beholden to anything,
yeah,
so they just start poaching talent from all these other AAA game developers, because the thing is, these AAA companies, publishers, have basically informed everyone, I don't care how good you are at your job, you're expendable.
Yeah, and will be expended. Period.
and will be
It's a matter of
expended.
time.
It's more a matter of time at this point.
So we're way over time, so I'm not going to go too into it. But you should definitely, if you're listening to this and you want to know more about it, Google this. There's a certain thing that's terrifying the stock market, investors and stuff. More and more companies, especially hyper successful ones, are choosing to stay entirely private or turn to co-ops rather than go public to get the money for that. And you might be like, "Oh, well, why would they do that? You can get way more money as a public but all the practices of public companies are no longer sustainable. And so these private companies, things from like Hobby Lobby down to like Larian Studios, are all staying private because they can weather storms better because they don't have a group of investors telling them you're not allowed to have a war chest.
Right.
It's an interesting trend right now where like VCs, especially venture capitalists, especially, are freaking out because a lot of the best companies are just staying private. They're not taking any investor money at all. And that is actually something that like it's now seeping into like every business publication.
As well it should, because all they've done is
Yeah.
proven how much this will come back and bite you.
I think you
Like,
are going to see a swing towards privatized development and private film companies
yeah,
being
and here's the thing, like
yeah.
Valve is private,
Mhm.
and Hoyoverse, we may not think about it as much, but Hoyoverse, which makes Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, they're private
Mhm.
and they're very successful.
Yep.
Very, very successful. And every time they have a trailer, if you ever watch the footage of their games, you sit there and you go, "Holy God, this is like the." I mean, it's very much like they're all weebs, but like they animate things in ways you've never seen anime animated.
Right.
Like we're talking like the buttery ass smoothest, best of the best, better than Disney 3D animation, like or at that level of like cinema Disney animation quality, and it's just for like a mindless cutscene for a free to play game. Like, how are they doing this? Because they have all this money, and the money
Yeah.
just keeps going back into the company.
And I'm not going to pretend that these companies are somehow more virtuous than the publicly
I
traded
mean,
companies, but
greed will eventually seep in, but the thing is that
right now they have clarity.
there's
Yeah.
a thing at a private company. The owner gets greedy or whatever, people just leave, kind of thing. Like people have the ability to leave over them. Kind of thing. The thing is, like, it's easy, and I don't know if it's easier or not, but it's like I just imagine being at a company that's private, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, when you're public, your boss is going to yell at you, who's been yelled at from his boss, his middle manager, to upper manager, to the O, to the CEO, who the CEO is being yelled at by the board, who's basically saying like, you need to fucking release your game by the end
Right.
of the year, because the game needs to come out and it needs to sell us money. I need to put this guillotine right over your neck, which is going to go right over everyone's neck below you, and below
Right.
them, below them, below them, below them, right down to the last person. So the person, so everyone starts crunching because they need the game to come out on a deadline, because some schmuck who owns, like, has a stock portfolio, is demanding it, and it needs to make a bunch of money. So it's like it's just like, release the product, do it quickly, and then make sure, and then you better pray to God it sells a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas, even if you were working for someone who's like, you need to release this product because we just need to get this out by the end of the year, kind of thing. It's like the most you need to do is make a profit.
Yeah.
If you're private, all I need to do is make more than I spent. And honestly, I don't think a private company honestly would probably would last that long if it was just a hellacious place to work at. Because there's been plenty of other proven places where it's just like, well, you know, I don't really like, I feel like when you're private, say you're the CEO of a private game company, you're more beholden to making sure your workers are talented and on delivering good product than you are about shit. You don't have a person above you breathing down on you. You're just kind of like, I just need to make sure I make more than I spend.
Yeah, and
So
also when you're a private company, you're more likely to know your workers. Granted, there's plenty of huge private companies. This isn't true, but
true, yeah, yeah. I mean, they're the but
100% of the time,
but
anyway.
yeah, but I just have to imagine,
Hmm.
yeah, I know Valve doesn't really make games anymore or whatever, but like,
They
I
don't need to.
I have to imagine, like, if you're a private company like Hoyoverse, and it's like, what's your job to make free to play Weeby games, and I don't have to know anything else.
Yeah.
All I have to know is product we're releasing doing it for our customer base. It puts the power actually back in the customer's hands, because that's the thing is I tell people this now, like, you're not even the most important part of buying it, because everyone's like, vote with your wallet. That's not even really that's only sort of the most important thing. You're not the most important person. The person buying the game is not the most important aspect for these publishers. It's not you, it's not the developers, it's their shareholders. Shareholders are the most important people in the entire thing. They're the most important people. They get all the say so. They get all everything they want. Everything they say goes. Customers, whatever. You're only secondary in as so far as, like, am I getting enough of you to buy product to show growth?
And there is hope that that will change, but
It's
I
not
don't know.
going to.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
not.
see.
It's not.
I
The
I
market won't allow it. That's not how the system's set up.
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I hate to end on a downer, but I don't think we're going to get huge announcements at Game Fest. I do sort of think maybe we'll get something from Xbox, and next week's episode will be our
Yeah,
reaction
I'm kind of
to.
hoping Microsoft realizes how important this is for them. I'm hoping they surprise everyone with the win. It's not going to forgive them. It's not. I will not forgive them.
Y-
But
Yeah, they don't. They are. They're at a low point right now. They need
yeah.
wins right here. In order
Well,
to-
I just hope I hope they realize how much their back is up against the wall.
I think they
So
do. I think they really do. Uh, Spencer, say whatever you want about him. He does seem to have a finger on the pulse. So he knows. I think he really does know. Does he care? I
mm.
don't know. I don't know the guy
Well,
personally.
I have this funny feeling Spencer may being overruled by people above him at this point. Like, he might be like, "You
Yeah.
spent how much money over how many years, and we still don't have a lot to and we're still in third place. All right, step aside. Let the big boss let the big boss man at Microsoft handle this. Like, I know how to do this. Start firing people left and right."
You know what, though? At this point, if something positive comes of it, they're going to be very happy. But as always, we've got producers to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week was Josh. Thank you, Josh. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Austenite, Zybernite, Mutton Chops Johnson, Screwnomi, Karoi35, Hyperviper89, Hockey Kong 64, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.